What are some big trades the Seattle Mariners can go out and make this offseason? Stay tuned to find out. So I posted on X a tweet to go comment some mock trades that you guys want to see the Mariners go out and make this offseason. And there were definitely some interesting responses I received back. So today I'm going to be going through some of those mock trades and giving my personal opinion on them. So we're going to start off with a big one from my guy Jake over on X. He said, Mariners get TJ Friedl, Brent Rooker, and Esteury Ruiz. A's get Taylor Trammell, Stuart Fairchild, number 8, Jonathan Clase in terms of prospects. Mariners number 25, Axel Sanchez. Reds number 10, Rhys Hines. And then the Reds get Bryce Miller, Shea Langeliers. Mariners number 3 prospect, Gabriel Gonzalez. And Mariners number 19, Walter Ford. So when I first read this trade, I was actually very intrigued. I actually thought it was going to be a good trade, but then I looked a little bit deeper into it. So basically, I broke it up into two parts. So you can see who the Mariners gave to the Reds and who they got in return, and who they gave to the A's and who they got in return. And this is kind of where it gets a little bit shaky for me. So essentially, the Mariners would be giving up 6 players, 3 of which are ranked in the top 25 for our prospects, as well as an already very established Bryce Miller. So let's look at the athletics portion of the trade first. So the Mariners would be receiving Esteury Ruiz and Brent Rooker from the A's in exchange for Axel Sanchez, Jonathan Clase, and Taylor Trammell. So I never usually use the trade value calculator, but I decided to do it for this video. So here's kind of what the numbers look like in terms of the A's trade, which I would do anytime, any day. You're essentially giving up 0 MLB proven players for 2 MLB proven players. While yes, they've only both had 1 above average year, I still think Rooker would be good in the DH spot and Esty would be good to fill an outfield spot. To go into a little bit of their stats from last year, Esty hit .254 with 5 home runs and 47 RBIs, while posting an 86 WRC plus and a 1.2 wins above replacement, having a very low walk rate and about a below league average strikeout rate, but obviously not with a lot of power. While Brent Rooker hit .246 with 30 home runs and 69 RBIs, he posted a 127 WRC plus and a 2 wins above replacement. But one of his biggest problems is his strikeout rate, where he has a 32.7% strikeout rate, which is not what we want. But again, like I've always said, if you're going to have that high strikeout rate, you got to be hitting over 30 home runs. So definitely in terms of the A's portion of this trade, I would do this in a heartbeat. But now let's look at the Reds portion of this trade. Here's the trade value calculator again. So essentially the Mariners would be receiving TJ Friedl for Bryce Miller, Gabriel Gonzalez, and Walter Ford, which as you can see, there's a big discrepancy in those numbers. To me, it's just giving up way too much for TJ Friedl. I could almost even see a Bryce Miller for TJ Friedl straight up. But again, you're going to talk a lot about the young starting arms, controllable arms that we have in Bryce Miller and Bryan Woo. But either way, TJ Friedl had 18 home runs with 66 RBIs last season, with about an average walk rate and a very below average strikeout rate. He posted a 116 WRC plus, and the one thing that really stands out is his 4.4 wins above replacement, which is outstanding. So I do think that TJ Friedl would be a great pickup for the Seattle Mariners. I don't think he's worth all those players. So while this is a very complicated trade and there's a lot to it, I do think that I would give this trade about a B- to a B, only due to the fact you are receiving a good amount of decent players, a little bit above average, but you also are giving up a lot of top prospects for them, including Bryce Miller, who's a very controllable young arm, who's actually been working on some new off-speed pitches this offseason. So the next big trade on our list would be Josh Naylor from the Cleveland Guardians in exchange for Taylor Dollard, Jonathan Clase, and Dominic Canzone. So as you guys know, I am a bigger fan of Josh Naylor. If you checked out my last video, I did talk about why him and Soler would be a great combo in Seattle. I'm going to put up on the screen again our trade value calculator, which again, I don't really use a lot, but I think it kind of gives you a little bit of perspective in terms of how good this trade is. So kind of breaking down the pieces, so Jonathan Clase and Taylor Dollard are 2 prospects for the Mariners. And I kind of like to think of trades as like who's already established in the majors and who isn't. So while yes, you have hopes for these prospects, you really don't know how they're going to perform at the major league level. So to me, getting rid of these 2 for a very well-established MLB player is not a bad idea at all. The only piece of the puzzle I'm a little shaky on is the Dom Canzone part. I think Dom Canzone has a lot of upside if he was given the opportunity to play every day. He's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he has a good amount of juice for a guy of his stature. And he was truly one of those guys that just absolutely lit it up in the minors. He made his major league debut with the Diamondbacks this past season, but obviously we acquired him through a trade with Rojas and Ryan Bliss when we traded Paul Sewald to them at the trade deadline. And as much as it sucked to see Paul go, especially at a point in the season where we're trying to make the playoffs, I think the return of Ryan Bliss and Canzone was really good, at least the upside part. Ryan Bliss is another one who's lighting it up down in the minors, and Josh Rojas feels very comfortable in Seattle from what we can tell. So while personally, in my opinion, I do think Dom Canzone has a lot of upside to him, and I think he could be a possible very good major leaguer. Again, it's one of those what-if situations for a guy that is already established. And Naylor, coming off a season where he had one of the best of his entire career, he's a lefty power bat with a low strikeout rate, which is something that the Mariners desperately need to acquire this offseason. Also, if we got Naylor, he would have 3 years of club control remaining, so that's also one thing that the Mariners love to have is that club control. And in terms of where Naylor would play, obviously he's a first baseman DH type, but If we go out and got two big outfield names, I would personally put Naylor in the DH spot and let Ty France play first base, only because I think Naylor is more of a DH type than Ty France is. It could be argued that Naylor is a better first baseman in general, but I don't like Ty France in the DH spot. And the Guardians have really struggled filling their right field spot since Sin-Soo Choo left. So to me, this would be definitely a worth it deal for the Guardians. They'd be getting two well-regarded prospects as well as a guy who's already going to be playing in the major league system. And even according to the calculator, that the Guardians are receiving more in return for Josh Naylor. So overall, I'm going to grade this trade an A-. Naylor's only going to get more expensive as the more he continues to succeed. So right now, if you can only trade for him and then only have him under contract for about $7 million a year as of right now, which is what his latest arbitration was, I think it's 100% worth it for the Mariners to go out and make this deal. So one trade that has really been floating around the Mariners world is Randy Arozarena to the Mariners. So one of the trades that was commented on X was essentially trading Woo or Miller for Randy straight up. And while I do like Randy Arozarena, and I think he would be a great clubhouse guy in Seattle, I just think giving up one of our young, controllable arms for him straight up is not worth it for us. I don't know where a lot of you stand, but in terms of Woo or Miller, I would do a Woo or Miller for Randy Arozarena and Izzy Paredes straight up and all day, any day. It seems like a lot of people may be against that because they think Paredes won't be successful in Seattle, which is fair to assume. But I think if you're giving me two guys that just absolutely produce for one major league ready arm, it's something that could be a big help for us. While yes, those young arms are controllable, Randy and Paredes would also be controllable. As Paredes is still getting paid the league minimum, as well as I think this is going to be the first year Randy isn't getting paid the league minimum, where he has an estimated salary around $9 million this upcoming season. So I think if you throw in one more piece for us to receive, I'm 100% down for this trade. And the last trade I want to cover in this video was also from X, from one of my followers. He said, Woo or Miller to Baltimore for Jordan Westburg and Anthony Santander and some salary relief for Santander's contract. So I am also a very big Anthony Santander fan. I think he would be a great fit in Seattle. So in terms of the Jordan Westburg part, Jordan Westburg is a second baseman / shortstop. So if this trade were to happen, we'd kind of be like the Reds in terms of we'd have a logjam in our infield. So, we got Urias, we have Rojas, we have Ryan Bliss possibly coming up, we have Caballero, we have Moore. We have a lot of guys that can play second. So I think that this trade has the right idea. I think getting rid of Woo or Miller for Anthony Santander and maybe one more big piece could 100% be worth it for the Mariners. Santander had 28 home runs and 95 RBIs last year with about league average walk and strikeout rate. He also hit 257 with a 119 WRC plus, as well as a 2.6 wins above replacements. So I think Anthony Santander would be great in a Mariners uniform. I would personally grade this a B+, only because it's missing that one big piece. So getting rid of Westburg and maybe throwing someone else in that mix could definitely make this trade an A. I just think getting someone like Jordan Westburg wouldn't fill some of the bigger holes that the Mariners have in their lineup. So maybe if the Orioles could offer a DH type or another outfielder, it would 100% be worth it to me. Please let me know what you guys think about these trades down in the comment section. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.